two biggest One West camps, IUIC, that stands for Israel United in Christ, and GOCC, that stands for Gathering of Christ Church, have been talking about me a lot lately. I don't do a video every time they do a video about me. I'm not going to do a whole response about this, but this is a good learning moment for us to learn some things along the way, and it'll be very educational. And now here what I want to do is I want to look at something in Matthew chapter 23. This will become relevant to the show tonight. It'll become relevant to the show tonight. So let me go ahead and let me see here. Where's the part? I need to... Just a second. I'm in Matthew chapter 23. I'm going to read something. Ah, man, I might read a lot of this. Okay, let's read this here, Matthew chapter 23, okay? Starting in verse 1. Then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, the scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat. That means they are supposed to be heirs of his teaching authority. So practice and observe whatever they tell you, but not what they do. It's basically saying if they break down the word of God properly, you should listen to them, but don't behave how they behave, and here's why. For they preach but do not practice. They tie up heavy burdens, hard to bear, and lay them on people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to move them with their finger. They do all their deeds to be seen by others, for they make their phylacteries broad and their fringes long. This verse literally speaks about the Pharisees making their fringes all long to be seen. IUIC and GOCC definitely rock the fringes to be seen. GOCC has a rap artist who put out a whole song about rocking his fringes. ISUPK is probably the worst offender on this. They cut out those super long fringes, those big long leather ones, as well as some of the camps that they're affiliated with, even though they say they're the home of the truth. Remember Matthew 23:5 next time you see that, and just put that in there. Let them see that. And they love the place of honor at feasts, and the best seats in the synagogues, and greetings in the marketplace, and being called rabbi by others. Notice that they love high and mighty titles, such as commanding general, or most, what is it? I'm trying to remember the exact one of them. Oh, let's just say chief high priest, or second only to Christ, or general, or captain. We could go on and on. For you have one teacher, and you are all brothers. And call no man your father on earth. Abba Bivens. Abba means father in Aramaic. Abba Bivens. Call no man your father on earth, for you have one Father who is in heaven. Neither be called instructors, for you have one instructor, the Christ. The greatest among you shall be your servant. The greatest among you shall be your servant. That means we shouldn't be all bragging about servants we think we're going to get. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exhausted. But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut the kingdom of heaven in people's faces. So these scribes and these Pharisees, they're hypocrites, and they shut the kingdom of heaven, meaning people that would want to come in, they shut the door in their face. This literally describes one way. Yeah, you're the wrong color. You can't come into the kingdom of heaven. For you neither enter yourselves, nor allow those who would enter to go in. So not only are they deceived, but they deceive others in the process. And here's why I wanted to read this. Listen to verse 15. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you travel across sea and land to make a single proselyte. And when he becomes a proselyte, you make him twice as much a child of hell as yourselves. So here Jesus is condemning them in the second woe we see in Matthew 23:15 for entrapping converts. He's not, of course, criticizing proselytism. Jesus is not criticizing evangelism. But it's the manner in which the Pharisees sought these converts, only to then turn around and place them under massive burdens and weights of these many requirements of all their extra biblical traditions. Child of hell here literally means child of Gehenna. And of course, that was a reference to the valley of the son of Hinnom, just south of Jerusalem, where all this refuge would be permanently burned, which was a metaphorical picture for eternal punishment, which the Israelites don't even believe in anyway. Keep Matthew 23 in your back pocket as we do this. Thank you for the super chat, Lily R., by the way. Now, what I'm going to do is go over to the first video I want to show. Okay, this video is not very long. Let me explain what it is, everybody. This video I took with my phone, and I did it in such a way to try to show that IUIC's official Instagram account tagged me. So if you're on Instagram, which you should follow me at Vocab Malone on Instagram, by the way. If you're on Instagram, you know that you can post your own videos and then you can put in the writing at a person. That's one thing you can do, and then they'll be notified. Another way is you go into edit, and there's a little symbol for an icon of a person, and it says tag people, and you can select where in the video or the image you want to tag someone, and then if a person puts their thumb over that part of the image or thumb, it appears and it'll say that they're in the video or in the image. Okay? Most of you know this. You get the basic concept. It's similar to how Facebook works, and if the person has their notification set a certain way, they'll be notified that they were tagged. Well, I wake up one morning, and I see that I'm tagged in 2 Instagram videos by the official Israel United in Christ Instagram account. Now, my guess is after this broadcast, they'll probably untag it to make it look like I'm lying or stupid or an idiot. That's why I took this phone with my video. This video with my phone, and I did it in a way to show that I was tagged in this. And my guess is they also will probably never do it again. That's my guess, because I know how they operate. But either way, it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to always talk about them. They're doing their thing, and I'm trying to do mine, and by God's grace, the truth will win out, right? But watch this and ask yourself, why did IUIC's official Instagram account want to tag Christian Apologist Vocab Malone in this? So let's take a look at this. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the wrong one. That's an intro for a video we might check out later. Here we go. Okay, so what I'm doing there. Okay, let me explain the camera movements here. It starts, I'm showing you my Instagram page, and then you're going to see, I'm going to go over to this part on the right side where it shows you're tagged, and I'm going to click on the tag and click on the first video. And then while it's playing, I'm going to click on the part that says who tagged this, you know what I'm saying? And then what it's going to do is you're going to see, and then I'm going to show you that it's not in the comments, that it's in the actual video tagged. But the important thing we need to do here is not talk about that the whole time. That's really just to get your attention. What we need to talk about is the content of the video and the larger video from which it came. Let's watch this now. It's only a minute and a half. So it's not there in the comments, it's in the actual video. So this is a group of youngsters in Sierra Leone being led by some of the men of IUIC because they're on a mission trip of sorts. This is day 11 in Sierra Leone. I believe they're mainly in Freetown. And here they are quoting Psalm 48:11. Let Mount Zion rejoice, let the daughters of Judah be glad because of thy judgments. By Nathaniel 7. They're saying this is directly by the elder, the leader. Notice they put their little logo on the left-hand side. And then these are, it looks like mainly younger girls. And so they're saying this is a fulfillment of that. And what they're saying the whole time is Christ is black, Christ is black. Let's continue and watch this and see what happens here. Now ask yourself, what was accomplished in this video? You're able to get a number of adult men were able to lead a large group of what looks like mainly prepubescent girls in a chant. Congratulations, IUIC. You should be very proud of yourself. Now, someone said, why do they think they tagged you, Vocab? They want attention. No. What that is just saying, hey, Vocab, we see your little... let me step inside the mind of an IUIC member, maybe even Nate specifically right now, and tell you why they tagged me. Hey, Vocab, we see your little videos. You know, you trying to peck away at us. We see that. We're not really too concerned by that. We're out here doing a serious work, a serious mission. So you can make your little videos running up on camps, but that's not really very important in the big scope of things. Let me show you what we're accomplishing, Vocab. Since we know you're a racist, I'm telling you this is the way they think. We know you're going to be really upset by this, people recognizing that Christ is black, because we know that you're all about a white Jesus. So watch this, Vocab. How about them apples? That's what they're basically saying. Now, that's not true, of course, but here we go. Let's watch the next video, because if you notice, that was one of the 2 videos I was tagged in. We're going to watch the other one now. There's 40 seconds or so left of this.
Repeat it. No, according to your teaching.
So they're speaking here with a man, and look at the caption. Remember, I was tagged in this video, so that somebody wanted me to see it, so I watched it. You know there's a problem when military men start to believe the truth can't be stopped. Help us, join us, support us. Day 7 at Nathaniel 7. What he's saying is that the leaders of Sierra Leone, in a way, you know, the warriors of the side here are turning to the truth. Notice, though, that all they're doing is saying Christ is black. It's so strange that that's high on the priority list for them. Check this out.
Repeat it. No, according to your teaching, it tells us that we Africans or Sierra Leoneans, we should wake from our slumber. It's high time to know ourselves.
Beautiful. That is beautiful. On the count of 3.
According to your teachings, you teach that we Africans, we of Sierra Leone, need to awake from our slumber. And he's saying beautiful. So it's almost as if he just did the Shahada or something, for a Hebrew Israelite, where he just proclaimed their gospel, which is awake to your true identity, and now follow the laws and commandments. Recognize you're an Israelite, recognize Christ is black, and then keep those laws and commandments, which is why it was important for us to read Matthew 23 in the beginning, because you see a fulfillment of this. These guys traveling all the way from the United States of America, a lot of them from New York, but not only, to go to Sierra Leone, like I said, mainly in Freetown. And then here we go. Yeah, so see, it says in Freetown, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Actually, probably now is a good time to talk about it. Freetown, Sierra Leone. Interesting that they're there. If you notice the name, Freetown, that's an interesting name, just similar to Liberia. So, Freetown was established in Sierra Leone as a place for liberated slaves to go and establish themselves. And so a number of different people, a lot of liberated slaves and different people like that, came into Freetown. And so, I guess from the One West mindset, you could say, since a lot of the folks, and it's not really a lot, but maybe this is the way they put it, since some of the folks who are living in Freetown these days, they must have been descended from people who settled there who had been freed slaves. Now, hypothetically reasoning from the One West worldview, if those people got snatched up and then they were freed, that could be a sign or a symbol that they are actually Hebrew Israelites and not Africans. This could be a sign or a symbol that they're Semitic and not Hamitic. Therefore, Freetown, Sierra Leone will be a perfect place for us to go, because perhaps there we'll find people who will vibe with the teaching because there actually will be some descendants of actual Israelites there, since we know that some of the people who live there these days must be having ancestors who were freed slaves, which means they may have fulfilled Deuteronomy 28:68. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? What I'm saying is, remember, Hebrew Israelites of the One West variety teach that most Africans are not Israelites. But what you have is them finding excuses to go into places now in West Africa, specifically IUIC with their booster club, and they'll target different places in West and Central Africa and establish, some kind of work there. And apparently it all begins with this.
I want everybody to say Christ is black. All right, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Christ is black.
One more time.
Christ is God.
Christ is
Christ is God.
Christ is
Christ is God.
Christ is
Christ is
God.
God. Christ is God.
Repeat it.
No, according to your teaching.
Now, notice again, I'm tagged in this video, so they wanted me to see it. Now, why did I say Christ is God in response? Here's the reason. They don't teach that Christ is God. They might teach that he's a God upon their strange theology of what that means, but in the unqualified biblical sense of saying Christ is God, we can legitimately not only say that he's the Son of God, but we can legitimately say that he is God the Son. They don't do that, all right? Because they don't believe that he's the Word Logos and the second member of the Trinity, or the second member of the Triune God. They believe that he was created, just like the Jehovah's Witnesses. That's what they believe about Jesus. So they're out there having people, little girls and military men chant, Christ is black. This is not the gospel. Out of all the things that they want to lead them in a chant for, this is what they start with. Now, certainly, it's going to have appeal, right? I mean, if that's what you're trying to do. But the question is it true? Not only that, even if it was true the way they mean it, is it the gospel? Is it the gospel? Now, what I want to do is I want to show a little bit of the larger trip, because this led me to watch their Sierra Leone video. Let's watch that now together. We're not going to watch it all. There's the logo there. I'm going to turn down the volume. It's an hour and 13 minutes, and it's a video of them being in Sierra Leone. Let me grab my notes. Where are my notes here? I have these time codes written down and stuff. I need my notes. Where did I put those? That would be super frustrating because those notes are essential for me to navigate my way around this video. So here's the IUIC. So here's what happened. I'm not going to obviously talk about the whole time the fact that they tagged me in 2 videos. That would be a boring show and narcissistic indeed. And I already told you I struggled with pride. All right. Now, what we want to do is look over here at an hour and 5 minutes into this. So I'm going to run. So they land, they go, and it's almost like a travelogue. And when they get there, they manage somehow to speak to some of the members of the press of Sierra Leone and did a press conference. This is Nathaniel doing a 15-minute press conference. I mean, that's impressive. And here they are talking to a young man. Check out his tie. They might show it. They might pan down. Well, he's got a purple and yellow tie on anyway. And then they teach a group of kids here that Christ is black. That's really the whole point of almost every session there, is he granting an interview with another member of the press, it looks like, from my understanding of this video, because I did skim through this. They're out in the streets preaching again about Christ being black. That's the primary message they teach. Again, would this resonate with you if you lived in Sierra Leone? You know what I'm saying? They're definitely using an N. Now, it's a cheap, false, fabricated, ethnocentric, racist N, but nonetheless, that's what they use for their marketing campaign. Now, I'm stopping here to bring something to your attention. Have you noticed how every time I show somebody on the mic, unless it's someone speaking to the press, it's someone different? My point is that IUIC, they do make clones and parrots in a sense, but they also do a good job at training these guys to be able to articulate the basic message of their group. Now, the basic message is wrong and all that, but here's my point. Christian churches need to learn a little bit about this. We've gotten really leader-centric and leader-heavy, and the men have almost thought the job of the pastor is to speak, and the rest of the men sit back and passive and don't learn how to articulate the gospel in any kind of masculine manner. So again, these groups act like I hate them and stuff. I don't. That's just what they're going to say. But I always give credit where credit is due, even when they're doing something wrong. My point is, our Christian churches need to do a better job at having multiple men who can clearly speak the central message of the gospel. Do you understand that? And as you go through, watch this video, you'll notice almost every time it's a different man speaking. Where's the church at on that? You know? Where's the church at? So now they even met with some government officials. This guy on the right, the camera's going to pan over to. There you go. He's a government official. I forget his exact position. You can watch this video. There's an IUIC Sierra Leone channel. And notice Nate, Nathaniel, he comes up out of his seat, comes over beside the man and shows him pictures. They're very good at showing images, which is interesting because that's part of the way some of these problems started, with people wanting to show images to people as a way to simplify things, and next thing you know, you got a bunch of white Jesuses running around. But they're still doing that, except obviously they're not doing the white Jesus there. He's talking about the whitewashing of medieval history and etc. And then he's doing a little interview with an IUIC cameraman. Now, see this? I know I'm blocking it, so I'm actually going to bring it up and show you guys what it is, because I think it's significant and important for you to understand. Again, we are talking about the Hebrew Israelites of the One West variety being out in Sierra Leone. Now, the reason I know about it is because they tagged me in the video. This is a still image. This is a picture here from the video. This is a paper there, I believe in Freetown, Sierra Leone, where they were. Now, it's called The Guardian. See, it's House for Rent on the front cover. Karoma's brother repays stolen money. March 1st, deadline looms. And who made the front page of the paper there? Jesus was a black man, Bishop Nathaniel. This is interesting how they've learned how to manipulate the smaller media of some of these smaller countries, because this is not the first time I've seen this happen. And they've become pretty successful at being able to manipulate them and use them essentially as vehicles for their propaganda. And this is a perfectly good example right here. Here they are right here. They're on the front page with their main message. Now ask yourself, is this the main message of the Bible? Ask yourself, is this the main message of the New Testament? Even if you believe that Jesus was a black man in the way that they think. Now remember, if I say it doesn't seem likely that Jesus was a black man, that does not mean I think Jesus was a white man. I have a whole video called Adios to White Jesus. I think it is absolutely impossible to think of Jesus as a European, Nordic, white-looking man, and I think that's a problem that's been perpetuated. But that doesn't mean Jesus looked the way they're saying. No one really knows for sure, right? So how could this be the main message of the Bible? It's not even clearly laid out. It's not. But that's what's there. Hey, shout out to you, K-Dub. How you doing, man? K-Dub, man, it's good to see you up in here. Let me put your comment on the screen. Yeah, that's kind of funny. He makes a great point. Look at that comment. Jesus was a black man. Quote by the Hebrew Israelites. Also Hebrew Israelites. We're not black, we're Israelites. They want their cake and they want to eat it too. That's exactly what they do. Great point, K-Dub. They'll say, we're not black, we're Israelites. It's racist to call us black, and then they'll say Jesus was a black man. Yeah, it's a total cheat. You need to make a meme that does that. Yeah, that's... What's up, Castro, by the way? What's up, Dino? What's up, Liza? What's up, Chris Wiggins? What's up, Roxby? What's up, Hayden? What's up, Nate2D2? What's up, Jonathan? What's up, CGO? I don't know the rest of your name. What's up, Gerard? What's up, Martin? What's up, Gabriel? What's up, Al? Al, I'm going to use your resources later. I do appreciate all your help in that, by the way. So I think that's important to show you. Now let's go back to this video because there's something very important I want to show you in this IUIC video of their Sierra Leone trip. Okay, so I'm just skimming through it right now still. We're at 32 minutes in. We're not going to play the whole thing. I'm just giving you a glimpse of it. There they are teaching again, and it's a different guy yet again, and a different guy yet again. All with the basic message of Jesus as a black man, as if that's a different guy yet again. That's Joel, by the way. Now they interview an IUIC member in Sierra Leone. They show that they're on a radio station and a TV show. After that, there they are speaking again to children, of course. And notice every so often they put their website and information on there. All this is very savvy and well done. I mean, it looks like an exciting mission trip, although the mission is rather odd, isn't it? There they are on another program yet again. Now, this is where we need to stop. This young lady needs to win some kind of award. Whoever she is, she gets props on a couple different levels. Let's listen to this. Nathaniel, the leader of IUIC, is going to share his testimony on this show. Listen to this testimony, everybody. This is important.
They don't allow images. I'm sitting there. I'm like the Arabs. It's really something bothering me.
He's saying he left Christianity that he grew up on and then went over to Islam. And notice how it began. They don't allow images, which we talked about yesterday. Remember, Muhammad images are haram. And a key problem for him, for why he didn't want to be in Islam, is they don't allow images. Who thinks like that? So notice, he's looking for the wrong thing in a religious system in the first place. And he says the Arabs... Well, it is true that Islam is Arab-centric in a lot of ways. However, that's not what makes it false. Other factors make it false. It really could be that God chose to use the Arabs in a certain way. That's not a logical fallacy. It's not impossible that that's what he did. It's just that God chose a different group of people to fulfill the Abrahamic covenant, which is that all families of the earth will be blessed. But notice he's got a problem even in his complaints about these systems. But continue on listening to this real quick here.
About where do we fit in as a people?
So he's looking for himself in his religion. Nathaniel, that is idolatry of skin. That's idolatry of ethnicity. Now, do not hear me saying, therefore, you don't, quote, fit in, or don't hear me saying that it's not important for Christ to redeem your culture or anything like that. That's what they always try to do, try to twist what you're saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying your idolatry was evident even back then.
Then a young man that I knew, a brother, he told me that we're the Israelites.
Oh, okay. So apparently some guy who went to the old One West school tells Nathaniel, hey, we're the Israelites. And listen, Nathaniel was right at first, but his common sense left him later on. Listen to this.
I was like, no. He said, yes. And he showed me in Deuteronomy 28, verse 15 through 68, what would happen to the Israelites. And he left it up to me. The Bible said the Israelites would go into slavery on ships. They would lose their identity.
The Bible does say the Israelites would go into slavery in ships, Deuteronomy 28:68, or that they would be indentured servants via the ships. The Bible does not say the Israelites would lose their identity. Nathaniel, you could give a chapter and verse for the first thing you said, hypothetically. You could say Deuteronomy 28:68. Guess what, Nathaniel, and to every other IUIC member who ever stumbles across this video, I say this with all due respect. The second thing your leader just said, that the Israelites would lose their identity, you cannot show me one Bible verse that says that. You cannot. Now, I know the places you'll try to turn to. such as Jeremiah 17:4. And if that's really where you're going to go, all we got to do is read the whole chapter. And if that won't do it for you, we can look at the words of the Hebrew behind it, and we can look at how they're used in other contexts. But we don't even have to do that. This is not a bluffing thing. Just read that whole chapter where it says they'll lose their inheritance. Inheritance never means ethnic identity. It has to do with the promises associated with being in the land and the blessings that you get being passed down. That's what they'll lose. It's clear from anyone who understands the prophetic language that Jeremiah used, and all you got to do is read the whole chapter of Jeremiah 17. Case closed. Deuteronomy 28, the chapter you just mentioned, your friend showed you, Nathaniel, says nothing, not even one little verse about the Israelites losing their identity or forgetting who they are. You've bought a lie, Nathaniel, and you're getting other people to buy it as well.
So you got to know this through someone else, that
Yes.
it became an eye-opener for you.
Yes.
I'll come to you, Joel. When did you join this movement?
So she asked the other gentleman there as well. Now I'm going to skip over here to 109. Guys, I don't mind. I see some of you are joining and you disagree with me. That's totally fine. But keep your language clean, okay, please? You'll probably get a timeout from my mods, there's a ton of mods. They do a great job. You'll probably get maybe a warning if you're new, but you might get a timeout. If you say something overly explicit or obscene, then you're gone forever. But just you can disagree. You can even name call. I don't mind if you call me idiot or anything like that. But once you start getting, especially if you start abusing other people in the live chat, then we're gonna have a problem. You won't be able to be heard anymore. All right, now let's look here at 109. Listen to this young lady. Bright, astute, beautiful. I mean, she's got it all. Someone make her the Oprah of Sierra Leone. Check this out.
Black. So I had to think, you mean these theologian Christians never read this? It's been in the Bible for centuries, since the beginning. But they give us a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, pink-skinned Jesus.
Notice a few things here. Later on, he's going to start calling white people red to try to prove his point from Genesis 25. But there he says pink-skinned. Hey, which is it? What are white people? Are they pink-skinned, red-skinned? Are they white? You know, whichever is convenient at the time. Just like you're black sometimes, you're Israelite other times. Now check it out. It's true that there's a whole bunch of fair-skinned images of Jesus running around this world, and it's pretty certain none of them are accurate. I don't think you should make images of Jesus in the first place because I believe he's God. What about you? You don't. You say Jesus is black, but you won't say Jesus is God. That's your real problem. But it's funny, it's overstating the case. Very rarely do you find actually a picture of blonde hair, blue-eyed Jesus. Usually he's fair-featured with kind of light brown hair, what my friend Pastor Jerome Gay calls the Pantene Pro V Jesus. You do see that. But it's rare. I've only seen one image when I was young. I remember one time, and it always stuck with me because it was so different. I'll just tell you a personal thing. One time we were visiting a country church. So I grew up in the city, but this time I was with some family members and we were visiting this country church way out in the sticks, like an hour and a half away or so where we lived, something like that. And what happened is I was looking through some old Bible they had there. And in this old Bible, as I thumbed through, it had like those pictures, you know, which some Bibles have pictures, especially for children. And I, boom, stuck on this page because it had Jesus and he had blonde hair and blue eyes. And I just stared at it. Because even for me, seeing mainly white Jesuses as a kid, it threw me off kilter. I was taken aback because I had never seen a straight up blonde hair, blue eyed Jesus like that. Now, as far as on my personal life, now on the internet you can find anything, but I'm saying in my personal life, that's the one time I saw it. But listen to this. Let's continue on with this. This is very important.
I cannot find anywhere in the Bible, and I've read it over 10 times. Where is this pink man? Where is he?
Well, perhaps the pink man in the Bible is that part where the Bible says God created man in his image and likeness. That same God that created the black man is the same God that created the white man. And the Bible says in his own image and likeness. Not saying...
First of all, notice he wants to interrupt her. Doesn't want to let her finish. Guess what she's doing? She's repeating Orthodox biblical Christian doctrine. that people are made in the image of God, man and woman alike, equal in the image of God, the imago Dei, man and woman alike, no race, and I don't like that term, left out of that equation. Ha! Check this out.
That in God created the black man in his image and likeness.
Amen.
He said man, which means it's black, white, it's mixed, it's all of us.
Okay, that's good. Remember,
Dang. Like I said, give her an award.
Corinthians says God is not the author of confusion. So
Come on, bro. Come for real. That God is not the author of confusion is in relationship specifically to ecclesiastical liturgy, meaning practices that take place in the church. Now, it's taking a component of God's character and applying it to real life, where Paul was saying, hey, y'all be tripping with these tongues. God's not the author of confusion. Relax, you know what I mean? There's other places where you could find similar passages like that. What he's trying to say is, hey, you just contradicted me, but one of us has to be right, and it can't be me, basically, because God's not the author of confusion. So what we're going to tell you is the truth, and you're just confused. We can't disagree on this, basically. But he didn't really disagree. He's not going to offer anything legitimate. Watch.
Genesis 2:7. Then we're going to get to the origin of the red man or pink man. Go ahead.
Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground.
When you examine that, the dust.
So now they're going to go back, and they're going to try to be like, oh, well, check it out. Since the dust is a certain color, and, Adam came from the dust, well, he's got to be, a certain kind of way. As in, since Adama means earth, he's got to be brown or black. That's what they're going to try to say. Here's what's so interesting about that. I'm looking up at the dictionary right now. I'm not going to bring it on the screen. I don't really want to do it right now, but I'm going to read this so you can look at it. What? Okay. Come on, just allow me to... Okay, just a second. I'm having trouble with the ad blocker here. Okay, no, okay. I'll take it off. Sheesh. Okay. Bible study tools, and you can find this anywhere. I'm just going to an easy place because they use the Baker's Evangelical Dictionary of Biblical Theology. Adam is both the proper name of the first human and a designation for humankind. God himself gave this appellation to Adam and Eve. The color red lies behind the Hebrew word Adam. This may reflect the red soil from which he was made. Adam was formed from the ground, Genesis 2:7, the passage he just went to. Wordplay between Adam and ground, Adama, is unmistakable. It is important that Adam is identified with humankind rather than any particular nationality. The country from which dust was taken is not specified. Rabbis believed it came from all over the earth, so no one could say, my father is greater than yours. That's interesting. The old rabbis used to teach that, now this is not, the Bible doesn't say this, but it's an interesting position, that the dust Adam was made of was taken from all over the world. That way no one could say, hey, my father's greater than yours, as in the dust came from Europe or Africa or whatever, right? But you could look more into this. But isn't it very interesting? Guess what lies behind the Hebrew root word, Adam? The color red. I could go deeper into this. I won't do it right now. But I encourage you guys to do your own study on the word, the name Adam, and how the Hebrew root, because I've done this with other people, how the Hebrew root behind it ultimately relates to the color red. And he's trying to go here to prove that Adam was a black man, and yet red soil seems to be the indication. But see, that doesn't mean, though, that he was red like a redheaded Scottish guy or something, because David is also called ruddy, the same word that Esau was called in Genesis 25. And so when you look at the semantic domain of that old word ruddy in the Hebrew, which, by the way, sounds similar to Edom, and there may be some legitimate linguistic issues with that as well, guess what? It means the reddest brown can be. So we have this limited kind of semantic domain of red in English. And so when we think red, a lot of times we think fire truck, fire engine red. The Hebrew word for red is stretchier than that. And so when it gets to ruddy, it doesn't mean red the way we think of red. It's like the red cow, the red heifer. How could there be a red heifer? Have you ever seen a red cow? Well, you have seen brown cows that have that reddish tint, but they're brown. So guess what? The ruddy just means as red as brown can be. And I've looked into this because I've had to look into this. Just look up what I'm saying and find out if it's true. My point is that, so if that's the case, Adam would seem to be brown, first of all. Not black like the way they're trying to get you to think, but he's not white. He's brown, but that ruddy brown, similar to David and similar to Esau, ironically enough. Continuing on.
The ground is the soil of the earth. The soil of the earth is brown. Different shades of brown ranges from a light brown to a dark brown like us.
He's not even looking at the actual word, though. He's just trying to use essentially what would appeal to someone who doesn't know the background of the Hebrew word here.
The first man was a man of melanin. He was colored. So he was a black man. So now, when you search Genesis 25, now comes the red man. Watch this. Genesis 25, start at 24.
Genesis chapter 25, verse 24. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red, all over like an hairy garment. And they called his name Esau.
So Esau was the father of Europeans.
So you're
Caucasians.
saying Jacob and Esau came about...
So let's stop there for a second. So Esau is the father of Europeans. What? Even if you think Genesis 25 literally means Esau was like red, which that's not really the indication. There's other reasons to do that. For example, some associate with the red porridge that he ate later on. Or it could be that he's hairy like a red There's different ways to look at it. But he's taking it as the father of the Europeans. Where is that from? That's not... That doesn't say anything like that. What's he talking about? Where's that? I'm looking at it right now. Huh. And what's interesting is the word Edom, which would be his descendants, that's similar to the word red. But just watch this. So she catches it, and she's like repeating what he's saying. I like her too. Roxby said, you like her? I like her too. That's why I said give her an award and make her the real Oprah of Sierra Leone.
The black and white thing?
Yes. And you
So
can see it today.
Esau is the father of the white generation.
Yes, the white race. Yes.
Now, as you say this,
Like, really? Where's that from? He's just repeating what he's been taught by his elders, and it's bad doctrine. Listen to this.
what comes to mind is racism.
That's right. Nailed it on the head. Now, bigotry, prejudice. The Bible says, remember during the selection of King David, what Yahweh told Prophet Samuel? He said, man looks on the outward, but I look on the inward. Remember that? Remember also where you have a situation where you've got Paul saying we used to regard people as to the flesh, but we now no longer regard any man as according to the flesh. We could go on and on there. Galatians 3:28. We could go on and on and on just to show how this is not biblical, what he's talking. And they're fulfilling what Jesus said about the Pharisees, shutting the kingdom of heaven in people's faces.
The thought that this actually sounds racist, that you're saying the God that you and I look up to, the God that we say is God for everyone, you're claiming now identifies with one particular race. That sounds really racist.
It is, and what's so weird is that's almost not even what they're saying. They're trying to say, yeah, the race is the Israelites, but she probably doesn't know yet that on their little chart they've made up, it excludes Africans who are considered Hamites. So a lot of the people in Sierra Leone would be excluded. But it includes Hispanics and Native Americans. You see what I'm saying?
Watch this. Romans 9. Let's go to the New Testament. Most people have never read the Bible as
So now what he does is he answers by insulting. Well, most people have never read the Bible, so let me show you Romans 9, which will prove it.
Christian. I will paraphrase what I heard the minister say. I never read the Bible. I'm going to give an example. If you ask people, does God hate anybody? I guarantee you, everyone in here will say no. Well, let's read the Bible.
Romans chapter 9, verse 13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated.
So that's in the Bible. And there's many other places where he repeats it over and over and over. But
So what they try to do there is, you see how it's all set up. Then if you have Esau being, the father of white race, then you could say, well, look, God says he hates him. Shout out to Roxby for the super chat. Thank you. You are killing the game.
say no, I reject that.
But that can be interpreted several different ways. Why?
She's right. And it definitely can't be interpreted the way they interpret it. Nobody thinks that's what it means. Unless you're been indoctrinated by the teachings of One West. I like how she's just kind of calm and chill, and she's hearing this for the first time, but it kind of just knows already, this isn't right, because it's not. And man, I'm turning to Romans 9. Of course, it's a citation there of Malachi 1, 2, and 3. And really, the basic essence of the verse, I think most people understand, is that God set his saving love on Jacob. And he rejects Esau as far as who he's going to bring the Messiah through, right? But remember, Esau is a sinner. He doesn't deserve to be chosen by God. Now, no one deserves to be chosen by God. But God can pass him over if he so wants. God is still just because he doesn't have to choose anyone, and yet he justly chooses some out of his own free will or free choice. So, in essence, my point is that the salvation of anyone at all always only comes from one source, God's mercy. But listen to what she says here.
Specifically interpreted to mean the black and white race.
Oh!
Well, that's why we started off with Genesis 25.
What he's saying is that's why I started off with a false precept to set up this point we're going to make. Notice how she caught right away. Genesis 25 doesn't say anything about the father of the Europeans, but he starts there as a false precept to try to then build the case when he gets to Romans 9. That's how it all works. Thank you, Liza, for the super chat. I'll put the verse you put on the screen there, which is a great verse, which says, let me lift it up here. Okay, there we go. Romans 10. For there is no difference between Jew and Gentile. The same Lord is Lord over all of all, and richly blesses all who call on him. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. Amen.
It talks about the twins, Jacob and Esau. Jacob looked just like his mother and father. Esau looked different. That's why I mentioned the red color. It said
Now, what's interesting is, how does he know that exactly? And here's what's interesting, too. When you go to Josephus didn't think the way he thinks. Now, is Josephus right on everything he says? No, it's not biblical. He's a Jewish historian, but he is a Jew. Josephus says that they were identical twins except for the fact that Esau was hairy. What's my point by bringing up Josephus and his interpretation and understanding of this passage? Number one, some Jews roughly in Jesus' day, Josephus is a first century, albeit late first century Jew, right? He understands this as Jacob and Esau are identical twins, except Esau is hairy. Okay? So that is an interpretation going on then. This interpretation has never seen the light of day until 1919. No one knows exactly when this came about, but it looks like most people understand. It looks like it perhaps came about from the Commandment Keepers, who were the group that the One Westers came out of. And the Commandment Keepers began in 1919. So we'll just say roughly this interpretation he's dropping came out in the early 20th century, which is around the time when a lot of new cults and heresies arose in America.
Right. Why did they mention his color? Because he looked different from everybody else on the planet.
Really? What kind of weird extrapolation? Nathaniel, if that's your interpretation, then what do you do with the verse that says David was ruddy? Why did the Bible mention that David was ruddy? Nathaniel? Is it because he looked different than everyone else on the planet? 1 Samuel 16:12 in the King James Version, which you use. So he sent and brought him in, speaking of David. Now he was ruddy, with bright eyes and good looking. And the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for this is the one. Does the Bible say in 1 Samuel 16:12 that David was ruddy, which is the same word used to describe Esau, which is 25, because he looked different than everyone else on the planet, Nathaniel? No. You're going to have to come up with some alternative explanation because you think David was a black Israelite. So notice the game you got to play to prop up your religion. And I like this lady because she didn't let you get away with it.
It was totally different.
Again, just to be clear, Bishop, are you in any way saying that white people are not of God?
Give me
Why don't you answer the question? First of all, he laughs at her question, but he doesn't just say yes. I understand. Why don't you say yes, and then you could read your precept.
Romans 9. Now, we just read God said, Jacob have I loved, Esau I have hated. Now, watch this. Come on. Romans 9 and 7.
Romans 9, verse 7. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children.
Everybody that comes from Abraham are not the children of God. Go ahead.
But in Isaac shall thy seed be called.
The chosen seed comes from Isaac. Go ahead.
That is, they which are the children of the flesh.
Meaning all the other nations.
These are not the children of God.
What?
These are not the children of God.
So there's a problem here.
There's a problem,
There's a
exactly,
big problem.
because who created these white people again?
God created everybody, but guess what? He has a chosen people. That's us. Like, I'm pretty sure you have a dress.
I love that. She's like, there is a problem here. Oh, man. That was dope. All right, let's go over here now. We're going to switch tracks here in a second. Oh, wait, there's one more thing I need to show you, everybody. Hold on. I forgot before we leave this. So, again, this is taking place in Sierra Leone. The reason why I watched this longer video is because IUIC, the official Instagram account, tagged me in 2 of their videos of their trip to Sierra Leone. So because of that, I went and then I watched the longer video, not on Instagram, but on YouTube, of IUIC in Sierra Leone. Mainly they were in Freetown. Now, I have an amazing book that's really important to get if you're really going to look into this stuff. The Atlas of the Transatlantic Slave Trade. It's actually published by Yale. I'm going to go through some facts and figures here in this book briefly to talk a little bit about Freetown, Sierra Leone. And the way they did this is quite epic. Here, I'm going to have to, let me remove this so you guys can see it there. So this book is filled with information like this, based upon primary documents from the era. What this shows is how 3.1% of the total amount of slaves who were captured from Africa between 1501 and 1867 came from Sierra Leone. So 3% from Sierra Leone, the region they were in. Now I'm going to go on and actually show you the number that equals about. The number that equals of slaves that came from Sierra Leone is 389,000. 389,000. Very tragic if you just stop and think about it. I mean, isn't it? But notice here, I mentioned this earlier, Africans liberated from slave ships. And notice how the arrow goes back to Sierra Leone and specifically lands in Freetown. The reason for that is because, as I mentioned earlier, Freetown, as the name implies, was filled with, or was established to get people of African descent who were liberated and kind of starting over in some way. For example, in Freetown, Sierra Leone, this is not necessarily liberated slaves. This is sort of a different category, but in 1792, a group of black Nova Scotians. So this is for you, D-New, and all the other Canadians in the audience. In 1792, the black Nova Scotians came over into Sierra Leone and came off of the port singing hymns, and you can actually read more about this in a fantastic book called A History of Christianity in Africa, From Antiquity to Present, on Eerdmans, by Elizabeth Ishii, and she talks about that. And the reason why I bring them up specifically is because those Nova Scotians who came back to Freetown were actually all black Calvinists. Now, it's a long story. I've talked a little bit about this before. I've actually done a number of things on this. I usually do it during Black History Month, but I've done it other times as well. And if you look, you've got a group of black Calvinists associated with a countess or a duchess, I forgot her title right now, who went back over and are still there to this day. They were actually Methodist Calvinists, part of a group of churches that were a connection. Anyways, my point is, you could take it as well. So because of that, there must be Israelites there because, they were captured. Or you could take it as, I'm saying from the One West mindset, well, since they didn't make the journey and still stayed free, then they must be clearly Hamites. Now, here's what I'm going to do. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the stats from this wonderful Atlas book and explain some stuff. And I think it'll be helpful. Actually, I need to show one more picture from it to really give a real sense of this. From page 99 in this book, this is a place called Banks Island. It's at the River Sierra Leone, and this painting is from 1805 there. I'm going to read the caption, because this is important for us to understand and deal with and learn. I'm going to read this and some other information before we go into the GOCC portion of the show. Europeans built castles, forts, and trading factories on some parts of the African coast to facilitate trade. Banks Island in the Sierra Leone River became the site of a trading factory. Less than 14 acres in area, Banks Island was from 1672, a base where the English Royal African Company traded for produce and provisioned slave ships. Abandoned by the company by 1730, it was taken over by Grant Oswald and Company of London, and then by John and Alexander Anderson of the same city, who successively developed the island as a base for slave trafficking until British abolition in 1807. Joseph Corey painted the Banks Island Trading Factory and included the watercolor in his travelogue, Observations on the Windward Coast of Africa, published in 1807. His painting depicts the island at the height of its involvement in the slave trade from the Sierra Leone River. And so, there's a whole history because of what the European colonial powers did. Obviously, there were other powers involved. There is something before that began by Arab Muslims. But there you've got this, wicked system where you got cooperating Africans and greedy Europeans engaging in human trafficking. From 1619 to 1860, at least 54,000 captured Africans from Sierra Leone came over to the United States. And that is in page 205 of that same book I just read. And specifically, Charleston, South Carolina, shout out to Miss Titus 2 from South Carolina. Charleston, South Carolina was a major port, and out of that, between 1701 and 1808, that 100-year period or so, 32,000 captured Sierra Leoneans, specifically, just from Sierra Leone alone, came to Charleston first. Now, remember, just because they initially go into Charleston doesn't mean they all stay in South Carolina, but it's a major slave port. And so I'm specifically detailing some of the relationship, right, between Sierra Leone and the slave trade. Now, remember, Freetown is set up for liberated slaves. So from 1808 to 1839, about 11% of the population there are actually liberated slaves. Out of the liberated slaves, about 11% settled in Sierra Leone, okay? And from 1840 to 1867, about 4%, 4.3 specifically, of the liberated slaves settled in Freetown, Sierra Leone. Now, Sierra Leone was a place of first disembarking, meaning a place that a lot of folks would get off first and then go to other places in West and Central Africa. Actually, 53.5% of the freed or liberated slaves, the first place they went to was Freetown, Sierra Leone. Now, you can see by the stats, they didn't necessarily all stay there. That's important to understand. But you're talking about 94,787 people. And so it's interesting to understand some of that history. But now here's the thing I'm going to really show. This is where it's going to get grimy. And I believe in being fair and honest. And if I make a mistake, try to correct myself. But you know what else? I also believe in playing hardball in a fair kind of way. For example, I don't think flagging people's videos, that kind of hardball, I think that's dirty. Not into that kind of stuff. But bringing it out and saying, check this out, I can go there. So let me find out where is... We'll see what I mean here in a second. Okay. All right, so with that being said, it's time for me to show you some pictures. Hey, IUIC, I see that you're going over there to Sierra Leone. I see that you're trying to get new converts over there. I see that you're now going into West Africa. Here's a picture of your booster club thing. You know, I see that. You're raising money to travel over there and stuff. Why don't you be sure to tell the Africans what you really think about them? Why don't you be sure to show the Africans all your propaganda where you basically made a bunch of racist memes about Africans who are made in the image of God? Let me show you exactly what I mean. Here's one from a video of IUIC Atlanta. Everyone, this is what IUIC thinks of Africans. The title of this video that IUIC Atlanta put out was Israelites, Ham Africans is not your father. And then shows, of course, a rather disparaging picture of an African, I'm not sure from where, they don't specify, doing something that most people would not want to do. But that's from IUIC Atlanta. And guess what? It doesn't stop there. We're going to have quite the time showing everybody the kind of images and filth, because it's the way you put it is essentially in a racist way, of what you say about Africans. Oh, look at this. IUIC Ohio camp. We are not African. Big and bold as can be, with the logo on both sides of the image. And what do you show? I just want everyone to take this in for a second. Let's continue on, because guess what? There's a lot more. There's a whole lot more where that came from, unfortunately. Here's another one from a still image from an IUIC video. See the IUIC logo? You are not an African. So you're going out of your way to make sure that you tell all your folks, hey, you guys aren't Africans. And yet then you want to go over to Africa and what is this hypocrisy? You're not black, African. We are Israelites. Oh, so I thought Jesus was black, but you're not black. Make up your mind, IUIC. Got your logo all plastered on there. I didn't make these images. I'm just showing it. Is that Denzel? We are Israelites. What was that? IUIC, what's that? St. Louis? What camp is that? I can't read the thing there. Just to prove the point of the anti-African bias in IUIC, that I'm sure they don't show the Africans when they're over there, we're going to continue on. Here's one of the worst ones. Whoever made this one, IUIC Atlanta, they went out of their way on this one. Baby's thoughts. Clearly my life is going to suck. And I thought I had the drooling problem. I hate my father. No, wait. For real? Be sure to show them all this IUIC created propaganda. And I encourage everyone to look at the live chat. Notice that the Hebrew Israelites joining us while I'm showing these pictures are saying a whole bunch of anti-African stuff. Look in the live chat. Look at all the anti-African sentiment by the Hebrew Israelites joining us. There is a anti-African bigotry in Hebrew Israelism I haven't seen since the days of the transatlantic slave trade. Africans, Israelites. God separated us from Africans. IUIC, be sure to show the Sierra Leone folks. Be sure to show them all these images when you're over there. Make sure you let them know, okay? Don't just show them the good stuff to try to get them to join. Make sure that you show them everything. But since I know that you won't, I guess I have to do it. All black people are not African. So what they're saying, some are Israelites and some are Hamites. And then they show what appears to be a disparaging picture of Africans. Now, I would love to know the provenance of where all these pictures come from. They don't say. Because what would be epic is if they actually were taking some images from people who were from Sierra Leone, and then they're sitting there having these pictures of people who are from Sierra Leone. Now, we don't know because they don't say. They just seem to lump all Africans together. But guess what? We're not done yet because they make so many of these. God chose us, not the Africans. And then they show the silhouette of the continent of Africa and put a bunch of people inside of it who they're basically saying are not chosen. There's Mandela, for example. They're saying they're not chosen. God chose us. They're on the left side and the Africans are on the right side. God chose us, not the Africans. Yet Nathaniel says, hey, Jesus looked like us and, us, and tries to play that up. What do you mean? What do you mean? Now, this comes from an IUIC online image, which is something that you can find them saying a lot. Look at this. Africans sold the Negroes for guns. This is from IUIC literature off their website. I grabbed this from, I think, a PDF. So they're describing themselves as the Negroes and the folks who they say sold them as Africans. Notice the anti-African sentiment again. That's why Tazariak said the Africans are going to be in the kingdom to be his slaves. Guess what? There's still more anti-African propaganda created by IUIC. Look at this. You were never African. And show what appears to be them drinking blood. They take maybe like the worst possible images you could find. There's a lot of great stuff you could show, but this is what they show. Now, the next ones I found during my search, but I'm not 100% sure are from IUIC. There's about 4 of them left, but I'm going to show you how this runs throughout all the camps. This is a whole thing. I believe this is GMS, but I'm not sure. You so-called Negroes are not Africans. Africans are not our brothers. These are damn heathens. Israel is the motherland of the so-called Negro. Just look at this. And look at the images they show. Now, I'm not sure if that's IUIC specifically. It showed up in my search, but I'm not putting these next, the 4, that there's 3 more left, on them, but I'm showing you how this runs deep and wide. Now, I do know they use the Zondervan Bible Dictionary because they love this entry. And so they're showing the same thing, Jew, Shem, African, Ham. They're at odds with each other, of course. Continuing on. And again, I encourage everyone to read the comments. Notice all the anti-African racism coming from the Hebrew Israelites in the live chat. The so-called Negroes are the biblical Jews, not Africans. There it is again. They're set at odds with each other. Ham versus Shem. Exodus 11:7 is the Bible verse given for that. Last one I'm going to show. That's what I'm going to show here. Notice same verse, Africans, Hebrews. Now they got these fresh cuts, and the Africans are, whatever. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know how that the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians, Africans, and Israel. Notice how they're extrapolating all of Africa with Egypt there. But this has to do with the Exodus. They're totally ripping this verse out of context. And what about the verse later on that says Egyptians will have a highway to Israel, and they'll all worship to God together with the Assyrians. I brought that verse up to the UPK member. All right, now I think I've shown enough there. If I wanted to really go at you guys, what I would do is I would show all the anti-African comments by the Hebrewites in the live chat, which are flying fast and furious. But I'm not going to do that now, but I will read a super chat that I got from a One West camp leader who made a video recently about me, but I don't even take it personal, bruh. HOI Los Angeles, thank you for the super chat. They're not Africans. Africa was named after a Roman general, Leo Scipio Africanus. We are not the same nation. We don't have the same spirit. House of Israel, UFO, a.k.a. chariot, fly. Thank you for speaking your piece. I read it. I'll read it without any commentary after that because I appreciate you commenting. No sweat. All right, now here we go. Shout out to my man, Al MCM. Shout out to you, Al MCM. There's a comment he makes that is very valid there from Peter's Dream and Acts, which they try to discount. But he really is the person who helped me with this next section. Because notice what I said is, I said, why are IUIC and GOCC tagging me in their videos? Now, technically, GOCC is not tagging me the way IUIC did. Oh, by the way, I had one more. Was I going to show that? I had one more thing I wanted to show you guys about the tagging stuff. Where'd it go? Hold on. I may not be able to find it. It was just showing how IUIC also tagged me on Facebook as well. Not just Instagram. But I'm not going to look. It's not that important, so I don't think I'm going to be able to find. Is this it? I don't know if this is it or not. I think it might be. Is that it, guys? Yeah, that is it. Okay. Just showing you how they tagged me in a different way on Facebook. But we've kind of already have discussed this. I just wanted to show you again to reiterate. So Friday at 2 a.m. So this is recent. They tagged me on Facebook as well, so I was guaranteed to see this. GOCC isn't doing that, but they have made a series of videos where they're talking about me either by name or implication. And I want to show some of those because this is a fascinating development where two of the biggest camps are starting to sort of pay attention in some way, in their own sad way, to Christian apologetics again. And so again, shout out to my man who brought this out to me because I would not have known otherwise. And I want to show something real quick that's not really relevant, but I think this is important to show. In my search to find the places where they were showing this, I learned something very interesting about GOCC, which is that apparently GOCC doesn't believe in planets? I never knew this before, but from this search, I discovered this.
The astrologers and those who understand to some degree the celestial speak of planets. I'm going to go into in this academy when the book of Hebrews talk about the worlds were framed, where the prospect or the understanding of planets come from in creation. And I'm going to also go into the fall of Satan and his angels into this realm, the first week in the creation of the universe. We're going to go all the way in.
It's funny because
now again, here's what's interesting. When these guys do stuff like this, draw my attention to something they're doing, I always uncover other stuff. I did not know that GOCC does not believe in planets. I did not know that. But notice how sad this is. Listen how the video starts. He calls astronomers astrologers.
The astrologers and those who understand to some degree the celestial.
The astrologers. It's okay. We all make mistakes. Now, this is Elder Rakah of GOCC, the second largest One West camp. Next to him is Elder Gabar, who I had a pretty positive relationship with and I actually respect. And listen to what he says. He's going to say, you know, when you first brought out this no planets thing, I was actually really shocked. It's very interesting. Listen to this closely, everybody.
We're going to go all the way in.
It's funny because I think 3 years ago when you brought out there's no planets, and
yes.
I called you as an elder. You sure you want to go into that? I mean, they got so much information, pictures, and all that, and and what you're showing me, it was like, okay, I see what's going on here. So.
Now, that was not my phone. That's their phone. It's going off during the broadcast. Hey, we all make mistakes, but Elder Rakah, when you do a live stream, just put your phone on silent mode, bro. I'm saying, unless there's some reason you can't. But I like how Gabar, now notice he says 3 years ago. That means the whole time Elder Rakah was being taught at the old One West camp, or when he was at the Light and Body Church in Philly, he believed there was planets. But 3 years ago, he brought out to Gabar there was no planets. And poor Gabar just has to kind of accept there's no planets. Because he didn't think that before. He's like, they got pictures. Are you sure you want to, This is sad, but I'm going to play this again, 30 seconds.
Go all the way in.
It's funny because I think 3 years ago when you brought out there's no planets, and I called you the elder. You sure you want to go into that? I mean, they got so much information, pictures, and all that, and and what you're showing me, it was like, okay, I see what's going on here. It's
see, but there's a concept behind it.
Right.
It had every. Hold on.
Shout out to you, Corrence Chandler. Appreciate the super chat, and we do hope you can. I'm just going to play one more clip where he says there's no planets again.
The whole thing, the concept they're dealing with the planets, it's involuntary worshiping of angels because something happened.
What? Believing in planets is involuntary worshiping of angels? Bruh. Yo, what's happening, man?
In the beginning. Right? Something happened in the beginning that led to a revolt.
Right.
But don't forget, the angels under Christ had the plan of creation also.
Yeah.
That's why Zeus, Mars, and all these are worshipped under the Greek and Roman pantheon. And
the sad thing is, I know partially what he's trying to say. He's ripping off a bastardized version of some of Heiser's lesser accepted in evangelical circles material, at least by the sort of broad swath of people, and he's misusing it in a really weird way.
Under the Japhetic pantheon, the worship of other gods. But check this out on another level. What were they trying to mimic? When Christ said, I go to prepare a place. In my Father's house, there's many mansions. Right. So there's many.
Why is he laughing? What is happening? Soko, a former GOCC member, says, Vocab, you've discovered one of the teachings that led me to leave GOCC. Wow, that's, yeah. And Dr. Ace Harden says, Vocab, better study your Bible. Are you telling me that if I study my Bible, I won't believe there's planets anymore?
Mansions, but it wasn't meant to be inhabited or dealt with until Christ finished this world.
Right.
But after the 1,000 years, there's a preparation.
Okay. Thank you, God, for protecting me from ever joining GOCC.
Now. Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2.
He's now going to say that Halloween has a demonic spirit attached to it that has got the Christian apologist all riled up. Are you guys ready? Listen to this.
In a moment. Check this out. When it comes to this, I noticed that there's been lately apologetics chasing and trolling Israelites as if Israelites are teaching some level of false doctrine. Now, as far as they're making it as if Israelites are the antipathis or the example
He's talking about the videos where I'm going out in the streets dealing with the camps. Listen to this.
of what's wrong in doctrinal understanding concerning Christ in the Bible.
Right.
But all the years of me growing up in the Christian church, not once did one apologetic, one preacher.
Notice how, after 3 years of dealing with Christian apologists, Elder Rakah still doesn't understand that they're called Christian apologists, not apologetics. Apologetics are not people. Apologetics is the art or study or discipline or field that apologists engage in. It's the study or field of how to defend the Christianity, the truth of Christianity, and to vindicate it in the public square in some way. He is still calling us apologetics after 3 years of dealing with us. Number one, this shows that they don't really pay attention or listen or learn. Number two, it shows that means growing up, he never met a Christian apologist. He didn't know about it. That's what's happening here. He's telling you. And he's going to say, I never had a Christian apologetic tell me Halloween was wrong. I don't know what circles he grew up in. Maybe I was more in fundamentalist circles than he was. Halloween being evil was everywhere for me as a kid growing up. Now, not for the same reasons or the same way they say, but how many Christian audience can attest to debates among Christians about how or if at all to celebrate Halloween and stuff? I don't know what he's talking about. It's just like their Christian experience is like something that none of us ever actually had.
In the church, no one in the church told me that following Halloween was wicked or evil. Mm-hmm. Where are the apologetics on this? Where are those who stand for the doctrine of Christ within America, standing up against the majority of Christian children that will be out celebrating Halloween?
Most Christian churches don't engage in an identical participation in Halloween if they do in some way. There's always exceptions. But here's what we've really seen in real life, not what he's talking about. We see similar to what the Mormons do, which is trunk or treat. And they fill their cars' trunks up with candy, and then they'll park inside the church parking lot as a way to get people to come and go to car. That way, kids have the experience of going to the church parking lot. Now, because Christians do this too, not just Mormons. And they all just go to all the different trunks and get candy there. That's one thing that people do. Another thing that people do is harvest festivals. Harvest festival where they just kind of celebrate the fact that, hey, you know, we've got like a time to thank God for the harvest He's giving us. And you'll see Christian churches do that. You see some other Christian churches that do like the hell houses, where they'll do like some kind of situation that's kind of like the scary haunted house. I'm not saying that I'm with any of these. I'm just telling you this is kind of what happens in real life, where they'll show like a scene of someone dying in a car wreck, and then they'll go to hell and portray the situation out, and they'll say, hey, you better get saved or you'll end up like this person, you know what I'm saying? And they'll like have like blood on the people who died and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I've seen those. Now, what do? I bypass all that. I celebrate the Reformation. I think it's sad that during Reformation Heritage Month, which is October, and October 31st, 1517 is the day when Martin Luther, who, let's see, I think I've got him in the studio with me. You see him back there? See him right there? Right there. There he is. And I think I've got another image of him. In just a second, I'll show you. Was he perfect? No. Do I worship him? Is he my idol? No. But did God use Martin Luther? Sorry, the pieces are falling apart. To help have a major breakaway from the Roman Catholic Church in which the common people could be liberated from the bondage that Rome put on them, and for a clear explication, a proclamation of the gospel. Did God use Martin Luther for that? Yes, he did. So if you look on my social media timeline, in recent times, you'll see me dressing up like John Calvin, dressing up like, getting people to dress up like Martin Luther and doing burning papal bull ceremonies or nailing the 95 Thesis on a door. This is stuff that I really do, okay? Some of you may not agree with that either, and that's fine, okay? But, like, you know, just what he's saying is it's not really what's there. Anyways, let me continue on.
October 31st. Lawyer?
Well, that's a good question. I think that question has to be posed to those who claim to be apologetics or defenders of the faith.
Yeah.
What fit to defend?
Exactly.
Yeah, they claim they defended the faith, but the only thing they focus on Israelites, right?
Exactly. And I think we have to take back that term. They take that term from the scriptures, which speaks about, coming in defense of the gospel. The Greek word for defense is apologia, where they get apologetics from.
And they're not in defense of no gospel.
Exactly. The question is, what gospel are you defending? Are you defending the gospel of the Bible? Or are you more so defending the traditions and the doctrines that you received from your so-called church fathers or whoever you claim to receive your doctrine from?
Great question.
As far as the Halloween thing.
These guys crack me up. What's so funny is Rakah, except for his innovations, is repeating a bunch of nonsense that he got from the elders at One West, the so-called seven heads. Listen to this next part here, everybody.
These are insane. Going back to what you said earlier about these antagonists,
yeah,
who are antagonizing us. We're not gonna call them apologetics.
Exactly.
We're gonna call them antagonists. Satanists.
I always say that GOCC is the nicest One West camp. Yet notice how they're really bearing the fangs and showing the claws here. I never call these guys Satanists, you know. First of all, you know, they're saying apologetics. Well, they don't even got that right. But we're not going to call them apologists, these antagonizers. We're going to call them Satanists. Now, I know they're talking mainly about me because of some of the other videos that my man Al showed me. They're mainly discussing me. It's just in only one video, the video on the Bahamas, 13 minutes into that one is when he mentions me by name and acts like he doesn't know me, even though we've talked before. I don't know, but listen to this.
Satanists, right?
And you know what? We're not going to apologize for anything we say tonight. Go ahead.
That's right.
No, you understand? Good go. Where is the defense?
Yeah.
Where is the defense of the innocent people that are going into church right now and giving the spirit, the soul over? Nobody is defending these people. Nobody is saying, "Yo, listen, this is evil." Nobody's saying that.
And I'm going to show you the hypocrisy, Elder Gotcha, of these so-called Christians. They'll bring someone on without even the full understanding of anything to have.
That's supposed to be me. So he's talking about the Heiser interviews and stuff like that are coming out right now.
Okay, GOCC, someone left GOCC, let's have a...
So he's talking about the video where I had a video called Leaving GOCC with Brother George, who left who was in the leadership of the Australia camp and left the Australia camp and brought a number of brothers and sisters out with him. That's what he's talking about. Now, he's going to say he's glad about it, but if they're so glad, why are they doing all these attack pieces where they're calling us Satanists and stuff? They're not glad about it. These guys don't like scrutiny. They don't like criticism of their doctrine. They like people that they can control their thoughts. But we need to stand against lies, guys.
And I'm glad they do it because it falls on its face. But they'll have people that speak against GOCC. What's your experience? I heard you left. And you know what? I'm so glad they're doing it. Why? Because others are actually seeing it who are not following the church and saying, we need to check this out.
Exactly.
So that's number one. We welcome it, right? But this is what I'm going to say. You would think that there's enough dirt and destruction and false doctrine within Christianity itself that they would think inwardly and begin to clean up the mess called Christianity today before focusing on Israelites.
All these guys do is talk bad, greasy, grimy, slimy, slick about the Christian church. And then when we put a spotlight on their little One West sacred cows, tip them over just for one broadcast or something, they lose their minds, change the subject, and demand that we make videos about the fake Jews or the Catholic priests who rape little boys. Not about us. Please stop talking about us. We're not used to being put on the hot seat and having to answer questions. Sorry, guys, we're not going away. Even if I die tomorrow, which I've seen some of your members, one of your members came and said, I pray for your downfall, Vocab. It was one of the GOCC members who left a comment on there. Said, I'm part of GOCC. I'm going to begin praying for your downfall today. If something happened with me, there's plenty of apologists, not apologetics, rising up. We're not going away. If you want us to leave you alone, maybe stop talking so greasy, grimy, slimy, slick about the Christian church. Now, we probably really won't still coming after you because your doctrine's false. But guess what? It's not just going to be me. It's Matthew Anderson. Matthew Jackson. Matthew Anderson is a Black Calvinist pastor. I don't know why I just did that. Matthew Jackson. Adam Coleman. LaRon G-Con. Sister Cherry. G-Man. So Real. Brother Jordan Ortiz. Pastor Eric Mason. Jerome Gay. Antoine, who wrote the book Deceived Within. I could go on and on and on. But this is what they always do. All right, let me play this part right here.
Is filled with atheists and unbelievers and all different types of witches, warlocks, astrologers, Satanists. Hold up. If you had the power from the beginning with a Christian structure, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have the authority to actually get your own people in some type of righteous order, how dare you come to us in our neighborhoods looking to structure and financially aggrandize yourself off of us? And that's why the so-called apologetics, the worms are crawling.
So now we're worms.
From the dirt now.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
That's what it is. And,
Yeah.
and on that, that's why you find
Don't get me started up in
so
there.
you find every religion, every religious system coming.
Oh, man, these guys are epic. Listen to this. Continue on with this. Listen to this.
These so-called Satanists, apologists, they would rather you stay in ignorance.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to wake up. And this is not new under the sun. Pliny the Younger wrote letters to Rome.
Yeah.
Saying that we need to get rid of these people because why? It's bad for business.
Yes.
Claudius expelled Jews out of Rome.
Exactly.
Because why? We were waking people up.
It's bad for business.
No, that is not why. Pliny the Younger did write letters to the emperor about the Christians, partially because it was bad for business. There's other reasons, but that doesn't have anything to do with you Hebrew Israelites. Notice what that... You know what? Since you brought Pliny the Younger up, I think I've got him right here. Because this is frustrating how you'll try to bring up Pliny like he's really part of your tradition. Where'd it go? I just had it. I thought I had my copy of Pliny. Hold on, I'm gonna look one more time, but if I can't find it, we'll have to skip Pliny for now. But it's okay because I know the letter. It's just top of my head. Text it is. Well, looks like I thought I had it up in here. Well, let me just say, if you read Pliny the Younger's letter, where did I put it now? Now I'm frustrated. If you read Pliny, he says the Christians met on a certain fixed day. And the indication is that the certain fixed day was Sunday, not the Sabbath, number one. Number two, in regards to Pliny the Younger, his letter to the emperor, he says they sang hymns to Christ as to a god. They sang hymns to Christ as to a god. meaning he recognizes that they're worshiping Jesus Christ as God. Just like Philippians 2 has the Carmen Christi, a hymn to Christ, a song to Christ, which shows his deity. So it's funny you bring up Pliny the Younger. He speaks about the Christians. Those Christians, you are not part of that. Don't try to claim those martyrs for you. You know that Pliny got his information partially by torturing women deaconesses. Do you guys even believe women can be deacons? Now, I'm a complementarian. You can watch my video on it. It was a controversial video. People made responses. YouTube made it where it's not, even though there's no swearing or anything like that, just because I took a complementarian position, YouTube made it where it's not suitable for all advertised. It's demonetized. My point is, I still, as a complementarian, hold that women can be candidates for deaconesses. Pliny tortured women deacons to get some of his information. I don't think you guys even hold to that. Do you even have deacons? I don't know, but how dare you try to claim that? Seriously?
It's bad for business. And that's the problem. It's follow the money. It's all about money for them, folks. Exactly. Think about it.
Hey, Rakah, didn't you go to the last Passover in a private jet? You're going to talk about money? I'm bivocational. I have a secular job that I work every single day, 5 days a week during the workday, weekday. Castro knows because we met each other at that job. He's in the live chat, Richard James. He knows I still work there where we met. You showed up in a private jet. You believe in the flea doctrine, so you were living over there in Egypt for a while, abroad, and then in London? Who knows where you are now? Everyone's heard the stories about your crib. What are you talking about, man? Hey, it is what it is, but how crazy it is for you guys to say, I don't have a position at a church. I'm not a pastor. So it's not about that for me. It's just, come on, man.
Every pastor should be united within our neighborhoods right now. United against, hold on 1 second. Please.
Again with a phone.
Right now, every pastor within the United States should be united all together against Halloween. It should be
I'm not saying Halloween's great, but like that's the most important thing we should be united against. Guys, here's the last portion I'm going to play from this. We're going a little bit longer than I wanted to.
Because they've only learned under their teachers. Follow the God that was given to them by the authority over Judaism. In particular, the Tetragrammaton.
So he's saying here in this section that the black pastors of black churches, because I've watched this video, so I know what he's saying, they're weak and ill-equipped because the white man specifically set them up to be ill-equipped, and so they can't deal with the Hebrew Israelites. But now the fact that they did that is coming back to bite the white man because the black church supports Christianity and America more than any other people group, and so now the black pastors can't defend against, their excellent biblical skill set of information they got from God. Then he's going to go on and say that they're under this false worship system because of the Tetragrammaton. If you know what that is, it's the 4 consonants there in Hebrew that are transliterated into English, YHWH, Yahweh. I did it without the vowels in my own amateur way because it's kind of like breath, right? Yes, Eddie says, whip out Illuminati too. So, bro, you already know what's coming. It's right here, and I'm whipping out Illuminati too, just like you said, Eddie. So you anticipated there. That's right. Now, why did I do that? This whole section's about Illuminati too. He's going to make it sound like we brought this up. And I don't know. Let me explain the background of this, okay? Some of you know, if you've seen the debate with James White, What happened is, at a certain point, James White asked for a primary source for something. Okay? In response to that, Elder Rakah cited Illuminati 2 as a primary source. Now that showed he doesn't know what a primary source is. For example, the other man mentioned Pliny the Younger. If you read from Pliny the Younger, that would be a primary source proper. People involved, direct documentation carried on to the present day about certain events. In the debate, James White, we all laughed when he brought up Illuminati 2 because we were like, we didn't know there was an Illuminati 1. And he cites it like it's something. Now he comes back at us talking about, you're acting like, Illuminati 2 is where we got our information from and this and that. We don't know. All we know is you cite it in the debate. And also, they're going to make fun of me for getting this book because he specifically mentions, I know they saw the broadcast because I'm the one who brought out the Illuminati 2 book in several videos I've done on GOCC. Yeah. The reason why is because it's called studying your materials. If you're citing this nonsense, which is a crazy, wild-eyed, conspiracy theory-laden book of bad logic, alt history, it's just, this book is straight up pure bunk, right? If you're going to cite it, I want to see what you're citing because I know it's not a primary source, but I'm going to say, okay, what you going to do here? What you going to cite, right? Listen to this. These guys are clearly in their feelings.
We'll see Israelites in defense of the Tetragrammaton. Yahweh, Jehovah, Yah. And you notice the Gentiles have no pushback against that.
Why would we? That's a proper understanding of God's name he revealed to Moses. Why would we? And guess what? It's not just Gentiles, which you clearly are. The Hebrews, who you learned your ripped-off fake version of Hebrew from, they understand that as well. Now, there is some debate between Yahweh and Yahweh in relationship to how do you pronounce the Wah. That's true, but the basic essence is still there. But listen to this.
Only when they talk to us that there's some type, oh my God, you got that from the Illuminati. You are a liar.
Listen, man, just because you cited this as a primary source in a debate and I went and got it and read the relevant section on the air and exposed you for engaging in flim-flam scholarship, now you're going to tell me I'm lying? You're the one who said my primary source is Illuminati 2. Now, what you're going to do is retcon this and say, well, we came out with it first, and I was just showing that someone else agreed with us. Well, if it's true that he is just repeating what you said, then how is that a primary source anyway? It's not a primary source anyway. But how is that an independent witness of the theory that you pronounce the divine name as Ahaya? If you're saying he ripped off you, that's just someone repeating what you taught. So why would you cite this?
You ain't getting nothing from the Illuminati too. You haven't researched the Gathering of Christ Church.
Oh, good. I bought this book to research the Gathering of Christ Church because you brought it out.
Okay. Now hold on, let me say this.
Maybe he's right. I didn't know that you didn't believe there wasn't planets until yesterday.
That publication was 2010 in the Illuminati 2. Research the name of the Most High in Christ, which was uploaded in 2009.
2009. I'm sorry, bro. You're a living meme right now, bro.
2008, late 2008, early 2009, before Illuminati 2 was published. We pulled that up not as a reference to prove that they're listening to us. And they know.
That is not what you said during the debate, bruh. You didn't say, oh, James White, I'm going to prove to you that they're listening to us. Who is they, first of all? You didn't say, I'm bringing up Illuminati 2 to prove that they're listening to us. Bro, you are the king of retcon right now.
But we've put out there. Okay? So we didn't get that as some source for the Most High's name, some Illuminati 2. They're only speaking to the ignorant of the people who don't know any better.
watch the debate and watch what Rakah says. That's all you got to do.
The guy that wrote the Illuminati too actually put it, even the pronunciation was exactly as the video that we put out there a year before he published the book. And guess what? He put it out there and didn't give us nothing.
Then why are you citing his book?
Okay, and we don't care because why? Before it's all over, all knees shall bow and all tongues shall confess that our God, the God Ahia, the God of the Hebrews, is the God.
It don't say Ahia in Philippians 2. He's quoting Philippians 2, which is, by the way, a paraphrase of Isaiah. It doesn't say Ahia. So what you talking about? I mean, do you want me to go there? I might go there. Everyone remember what he said. It depends on how much time we have left. I might go there to show you the scripture you're citing is irrelevant to what you're saying.
Of all gods. Okay, so I'm putting that out there because we have some people out there misrepresenting and lying to people, saying that we got the source of the Most High's name from some book, when that guy was somewhere on YouTube that wrote the book, Studying the Gathering of Christ Church.
How do you know that? Even if you came up with this name prior to Illuminati 2, which I don't know why you then cited it as a primary source, which by definition it's really not. How do you know he got it from you? What's your evidence for that?
Exactly. And when you read that reference, you can tell that's exactly what he did. He took word from word the breakdown that we put out years earlier.
Exactly.
And used that as a reference for his work.
As a reference.
They really think this guy was watching GOCC videos? Send me the link. Send me the link. I want to see this link to where you broke this down. And I want to read the section here where he talks about the divine name. And I want to then see if he really ripped off what you said. That's what I want to see. I want to see it for real. This is so weird. This book is so strange. You know what? Even if he is ripping you off, it's like, why would you want to take credit for this nonsense? Because this is real crazy, bro. Like, when I say real crazy, I'm going to read this when you're done.
For his work.
Yeah, but check this out, though.
He referenced us. And we didn't get this from no...
Wait, he referenced you? In this chapter, he does not reference you. What are you talking about? He references you. What's your proof or evidence for that? It seems like you're making up history. The other guy says, if you read it, you can tell he got it from us. You're saying he referenced you. Those are two different things. But what's your evidence for this?
We got it from the Almighty. Mm-hmm. And that's something the carnal people can't understand.
Hey.
You got Ahia from the Almighty? You know what's interesting about that, Rakah? The men who taught you, such as Abba Bivens, well, you weren't taught directly by Abba Bivens. You never met him. But Ariah, who did know Abba Bivens, who taught you, what does Ariah say? What does he say the divine name is? He says it's... What? What's he say? Does he say Ahia? What's he say? Man, I wish I could find a video of Ariah pronouncing it. I wish I could find that right now. Well, I'm not going to be able to find that right now. But we already know. He says Yahweh. Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. He said it was Yahweh. And all the other Hebrew Israelite camps still say Yahweh. So here you are saying, it's some other name, but if you got it from God, where did your teacher get it from? That's my point.
Check this out. Even on that
Get me started.
Even on that note, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When the Satanists were speaking about it, I'm gonna say the Satanists.
The Satan.
He's talking about me in one of my live streams now.
That's who they are.
When the Satanists were speaking about it, I know there's a video clip where the Satanist pulls out the book from his collection. So I'm saying, okay then, if everything that the elder was saying was false when he referenced the book in whatever debate you're referring to, why did you go buy it?
Right.
Why did you go buy the book?
Okay, you never had.
Isn't it obvious? to see the source you're citing. If you're citing it as a source, I want to see what the source says. To see if it, first of all, because here's what I've learned, everybody. I have learned that you can never, ever trust a Hebrew Israelite when they cite a source. Never. If they cite a source, you better check out that source. You're lucky if they cite a source in the first place, but if they do, you need to find out what the source actually says.
Looking to begin with. Yo, get the hell out of here, yo. All right, let me tell you straight. We are waking up, and there's nothing you can do about it.
This is just pure, unjustified triumphalism. Triumphalism of the imagination. Delusions of grandeur on full display. You're not interacting with anything being said. You're not debating really legit. You're not doing anything. You're just, listen to this. Look at he's got the face. I mean, this is...
All right? Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Anyways.
Say that again. We're going to give you a close-up on that. We're going to give you a close-up. Say it again, guys. Hit them with it.
All right. We are waking up. There is nothing you and your little minions can do about it.
Check it out, Gaja.
Simples.
Gaja, I always go back to when I first met you, right? I know people are tired of me talking about it, right?
Okay. Yeah, we are a little bit. Now, here's the other video where they talk about me. Now, here's the thing. I didn't get to write down the time codes on this, and we've got to end very soon. We never go this long. Here's what I need to know. My man, Al, are you still in the live chat? If you are here, Al, will you please let me know the time when they begin talking about me? Because this video is fascinating. They basically say if Vocab comes to the camp and it gets too close to you, first they make it sound like lay hands on them as self-defense. But then they change it to call the cops. That's what they talk about in this video. The thing is, I don't know exactly where it was in here. So my man, Al, are you still in here? Al MCM, I think, is your screen handle. Who's my man? Do you know where they say that stuff? I'm going to give you a little bit of chance if you can find it. If not, we may not be able to get to it. But that's the kind of stuff they were saying. And this is the last video they were showing. I was just trying to go through it to find that spot. Here, let me make my screen a little bit bigger. Let's see here. All right. Where should I put myself? Probably the best spot is probably... Let me mess around with this real quick here. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that, and let's put this down here. Okay, I think that's a nice clean screen, and that's about as big as I can be while still showing their faces. Although, while I'm waiting on this part to show up, this is a 3-hour video. It's 3 hours, so it's hard. Oh, okay. Thank you, Al. Where do they say it exactly, though? Is this... So he says 2 hour, 2 minutes. I was going to read from this Illuminati 2 book while he stalled, but he's saying he knows where it is. So I'm going to go to the section and see if we can find it there. And this will be the last thing we do today. All right, here we go. Turn up the volume.
The Jesuits.
The Jesuits. Go on.
Properly speaking, this society is not secular, nor regular in terms of its constitution, but a kind of subtle company intervening where and when it is convenient.
So it comes in when it's convenient. It'll stay in the back until their puppets of control no longer has authority or force or influence. So they'll lay back and watch what's going on in our communities. And by examining the bottom line, when they start to see our people leaving, and the bottom line isn't getting up to daddy and mommy like it used to, then that's when you'll begin to see Jesuits. They'll come out and say, oh yeah, you want to come on and debate? Huh?
They're accusing me of being a Jesuit. I'm a Calvinist, like the opposite of Roman Catholic Jesuit.
Or they'll start sending out these white guys who are we know who they are.
The Jesuits sent me out.
Of Satan to start chasing Israelites all over the place. Because why? They feel the black pastors are no longer useful. They're useless to them now.
David Wood, ladies and gentlemen, has joined the live chat and sent a super chat. I appreciate that. Says, I saw that Vocab was live, so I closed my laptop, packed for a trip, tested a new camera, went to Walmart, drove around for a while, ate a late dinner, and put all the groceries away. Then I opened my laptop and Vocab is still live. Oh, David, and thank you for the super chat, and we do love you. This is the last video we're going to be playing. You definitely want to hear this. I owe a ton of freestyles.
So you're going to see more of this. You're going to see more of people now following Israelites and coming out, trying to do stories on Israelites and all that. These are Jesuit agendas that only kick in. It only kicks in when they begin to lose control in our communities. When the taskmasters no longer can control us, you're going to start seeing it. You're going to start seeing them come up with all these felonious stories that don't make sense in the media. Like what happened in England and all that. You're going to start seeing that. Where the story really don't make sense. A lot of it doesn't make sense. But they're going to do anything to...
He's talking about Joy Morgan, and they talked a little bit about Joy Morgan's death, IUIC.
Last Wednesday. We don't want no story out. You can't say nothing about us religiously. Why? Look how many people you're killing and destroying. Like Robert Kraft, that he runs a football team right now. And he was up for sex trafficking, not just last Super Bowl, but no one related his sexual...
Mike McCarthy says they also discussed you in a recent video about tabernacles. How do you guys know all this? How are you guys keeping track of all this where they're discussing me? Like, seriously, how do you guys know? I appreciate. So here's the thing. I just can't watch all this stuff. Can you guys, when you find stuff, you got to send me stuff. But honestly, if you can, you got to send me stuff with time codes or else I'm never going to find it. So I appreciate my man Al sending me time codes. But send me that if you can and let me know, man, because otherwise I won't be able to get to it. But I appreciate you guys. Eyes and ears.
In the neighborhood, no one says, well, it's because he went to that Baptist church. It's because she went to that Baptist church that happened to her.
Where's the part where they talk about Lane? We're going to go further in because I don't know where.
Clear. We don't promote aggression.
Oh, yeah, this is it. Okay.
All you have to...
There.
Innuendos and sex following Israelites and coming out.
Okay, there you go.
So they'll lay back and watch what's going on.
This is a part where he's talking about me approaching camps, and this part's weird. I know we're going a little bit of longer than usual, but this is important to watch what he says here.
That's when you'll begin to see Jesuits. They'll come out and say, oh, yeah, you want to come on and debate? Huh?
So what some of these guys do is they'll take one of my videos and they'll pause it and they'll look for like a hand signal. And they'll say, look, here's proof Vocab is a Jesuit. He's signaling his Jesuit masters. I kid you not. They're out there. And this is proof right here because he's letting them know he's, doing their job and working for them or whatever. It's crazy, man.
You're going to see more of people now following Israelites and coming out trying to do stories on Israelites and all that.
Oh, hey, shout out to Alfredo Valentin, BK Apologist in the house. Make sure you follow him and subscribe to his channel because he's going to be doing a lot of great analysis on the recent video that dropped, the debate with Dr. Vince Bantu. Round 1 has now been dropped on the Epiphany YouTube channel, and Brother Jabari on his Christianity, the White Man's Religion, no doubt.
They'll come up with all these felonious stories that don't make sense in
the Joy Morgan story is not a felonious story. She's really dead. They found her body, and her mother is distraught. Like, what are you talking about? This guy tried to say that the Jesuits planted that member in the IUIC congregation. I heard him insinuate that the murderer of Joy Morgan is actually like a plant or something. Like they put crazy people in there on purpose. Like, for real?
You can't say nothing about us religiously. Why? Look how many people you're killing and destroying. Like Robert Kraft, that he
why is he bringing up, like, isn't that like the Patriots owner or something? What a weird, how does that relate to Christian apologists and Jesuits? Like, his mind is like a mangled mess of old cobwebs, all crisscrossing each other. I mean, this is bizarre.
Okay, and I put that out there last Wednesday. Don't come to us some crap. Well, it's like some girl died. What church she go to have to do with what happened?
Because it was a fellow member who murdered her, bruh. That's what it had to do with.
When have you start relating the heinous crimes in our communities to what church they go to? When our people are shooting people up every day in the neighborhood, no one says, well, it's because he went to that Baptist church. It's because she went to that Baptist church that happened to her. So we're not even buying that garbage, because if they could prove that Israelites was behind anyone killing somebody, they would have had the leader of that organization on trial.
That's not true, Austin Smith.
This is Jesuit deception, folks. It's Jesuits. It's Jesuits. Jack the Ripper. What synagogue did he belong to? Jeffrey Dahmer. Epstein. Molestation Island. All the people that went out to Molestation Island.
Oh boy.
Because it's only, they're only.
Okay, we got to get to
in the church and outside the church.
In the church and outside the church. And this is what I'm going to tell even all the brothers. And
here's the part. Here's where he talks about our activity. Here's his word to his camp.
Sisters in our gathering of Christ Church. And I'm going to put this out there right now. And I'm going to say it amongst the elders.
Listen to this.
If you see that guy popping up that's following Israelites.
That guy that's popping up on Israelites.
Understand that you are to ignore him.
Oh, Rakah's taking the easy way out. I thought that your camp had the truth and was fearless and bold, and everyone is afraid to engage with you. That's what I was always told. But now you want to take the IUIC track, you're going to ignore. I hope that I find where a GOCC camp is when I'm in a town soon coming up here, because if they listen to your edict, it's perfect. I get to make a video with total quiet, meaning you won't talk and I can just stand there in front of you with the background and speak about you, since I know you won't speak to me. Say what you will about ISUPK and GMS, they at least act like men and engage, not this nonsense.
Don't say nothing to him. If he asks questions, let him know. Listen, anything within 2 feet of me, anything outside of 2 feet is aggression.
What? I've never got in a Hebrew Israelites space like that. They have gotten in mine several. If you ever see a video and we're like nose to nose, that's because they stepped to me. You know what I'm saying? This dude is saying to tell them, ignore him, step 1. Step 2, say anything within 2 feet is aggression, and authorizing self-defense at that point. It's like you're handing me material.
So you're going to have to shout while I ignore you.
You don't have to shout if you're 2 feet. How far is 2 feet? You wouldn't have to shout from that.
I'm going to take anything. Well, can I speak to you? All you have to say to them, brothers and sisters, anything within 2 feet is aggression. So, would you like to threaten me?
What? What is this? I've been threatened more times than I can count by Hebrew Israelites. I have never once in my life threatened a Hebrew Israelite. And guess what? I never will.
That's it. Because they're going to come out, they're going to send provocateurs, they're going to try to provoke scenarios, situations. And if you see these guys, ignore them.
Those are the words of a coward, and I say that with all due respect.
And they'll usually find some faction that they know, some young guys somewhere who aren't too savvy, and guys who might say something that would criminalize them. They usually seek these out as the example of who to...
Nah, bro, we just find who's around that we can go. You guys be making stuff up, man. I would love to talk to you guys.
Okay? They sit down in their offices and they'll pull up YouTube and say, yo, where those guys at? I'm going to pop up there. He just said that. I'm going to pop up there and ask him this question.
Wouldn't you welcome that? Notice the fear. The fear in this broadcast.
This guy's just waiting to say that he's going to rape something or hurt something. And we're going to have that. We're going to chronologize that as the example of Israelites. Because why? We're losing.
Hold up. So, Jay Romero says, at this point, just shake the dust off your feet, Vocab. Number one, notice when Paul said he was going to do that, he still went to the Jews even after that. Number two, this is part of Ephesians 5:11. Expose the works of darkness. Number three, someone needs to stand in the gap against these guys. All right? So, this is a mission that we need to undertake as urban apologists and Christians who live in the city. That's why I say in the beginning of the broadcast, Street Apologists Live, where we serve the underserved and looked into the overlooked.
Let me make it clear. We don't promote aggression, but we do promote self-defense. Okay?
If I was in a foot and a half, let's say, of a GOCC member, and they said that is aggression and decided they could enact self-defense on me, don't you understand you would be handing me everything on a silver platter? Because you want to say you're different than the other camps, you'd be showing that you're actually really not. Is that what you want to do? I don't think so. Because unless the Lord wills or whatever, I'm not going to stop, and neither are the other brothers and sisters. So,
promote self-defense, which means if someone is threatening or coming up to harm us, we ought to protect ourselves.
It's like one guy against 20 guys. Watch the video with One Body and Yahushai.
Okay?
And to make that clear also, we're not saying get into physical confrontation, because these are things that, if you're dealing with provocation or someone is looking for provocation, then they would rather you physically fight them, because that makes their case all the much stronger.
Exactly. If I got on tape, because we have to make sure every time, that's why they don't come to our camps.
That is not why. Every camp films themselves. The reason why you haven't seen me out on the street with GOCC is because y'all are ghosts. Nobody knows where you are. Nobody knows when you show up. You don't really hit the blocks in the streets. You like to do your all-white private parties and sing songs on boats. That's what you're known for. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to be funny, but you guys are known kind of for being pretty boys. You know what I'm saying? You kind of sit around in your little halls and sing songs of joy and gladness to each other. And, you know what I'm saying, this and that. You don't really hit the blocks. You're almost like the suburban camp. And yeah, I'm throwing shots. But that's kind of what you're known as. That's kind of how it is with y'all. Now, I'm doing that to kind of push back on what you're saying. I've showed up with ISUPK, Sakari, GMS, IUIC, One Body and Yahushai, and you think, I wouldn't go to GOCC. I've never known where GOCC shows. I don't know where they are. Y'all are ghosts on the streets. So Casper, my friend, the reason is because nobody knows where you are. Because you don't really come out on the blocks. If you did and I knew, I would show up with all respect and love and sincerity and like to engage you, because you're leading people astray and people need to hear the truth instead of just what you're promoting out there in the streets. And that's the truth, Elder Rakah.
We don't have a camp, our teachings. All right? They don't come out and mess with us because why? Everything.
Because you're ghosts. Nobody knows where you are. You don't have a lot of street teaching videos.
be filmed if we're in public. So if I told you within 2 feet, anything I deem outside of my invite is aggression, and it's on tape, those Jesuits have enough understanding to know what that means being filmed.
You guys are bizarre, man. This is bizarre. Hey, Renzo says GOCC is everywhere in Dallas. I hear you. I believe you, bro. I know they have a big presence there. Tell me when and where, and we'll talk to them.
Okay. They understand that because that's the way we'll avoid confrontation. Because these guys are savvy. They see the cameras there. So you know what he's going to do? He's going to stay 2 feet away because it's filmed. And if he get between, now if he come closer, be like, well, okay, we already warned the guy. Excuse me, let's get the authorities on the line. Right now, we're being threatened.
Notice it changed from we believe in self-defense, meaning they're going to lay hands on somebody if you're within 2 feet. I don't know where that is in the law. To we're going to call the cops. Now GOCC is turning into IUIC. They're the cop calling camp. Israel United and cops. Those dudes call the cops quicker than a white lady watching a black barbecue in a park. Like, y'all, do you really want to turn into that? You know what I'm saying? Is that what you want to turn? The gathering of calling cops? You know what I'm saying? Is that what you guys want to turn into? Is that what you want GOCC to stand for? That's cool. All it looks like is you've got to call Esau and be fearful, you know, if you're going to call cops Esau, of somebody trying to have a disputation with you. Yet you'll make videos and call people Satanists, but Lord forbid they come try to talk to you about your doctrine. He is going to say here in a second, and we'll let the cops beat up Vocab. Now, he doesn't say Vocab, but everyone knows what he's talking about. He's going to say here in a second, and then we'll let them beat you up. Listen, man, when it comes to cops, I say this with all due respect, I don't really trust cops, man. You call them and you don't know what's going to happen. They show up and they start shooting the wrong people. I don't think any of us want that. And I'm not trying to play. Some of you get mad right now, oh, Vocab's anti-cop. It's not that. I'm just trying to be realistic. Once they show up, it's a variable. You don't know whose side they're going to take and what they're going to do and what it's going to take to provoke them and who's going to draw a gun and who's going to think that a cell phone or a microphone is a gat and blast you. We don't know. So it's real dangerous to me when you actually start saying this, but hey, it is what it is. This dude's about to say, let's put our tax dollars to work by having the cops beat up Vocab. Listen to this.
Let's call the cops. This guy came up. I don't know where he coming from, but all I know is he's a stalker, and we need to get the cops involved. And we'll let the police beat him down.
Let the police beat him down. Is this man serious right now?
Okay. That's the way they do a good job on us, don't they? So, you know, put our tax-paying dollars to use. Let them know you got 2 feet, you're being ignored. Unless you want some water. You want to be baptized? Kick rocks. All right? And that would be my suggestion, even though, you know, we have a different belief than other brothers who know they're Israel. I'm putting it out there that if they see this, they should do the same for self-preservation. If these guys come around, understand that it's not because they're in defense of any gospel. They're harmful. They're evil. They're wicked. They're demented. And if
this is how a cult leader preserves his cult. He sets up anyone in opposition to anything he says as wicked, Satanist, demented. It's taking a play right out of the cultic handbook.
Not there to convert. Tell them to kick rocks. Get out of here. You're not going to lure me into a Jesuit joust. Okay?
Yo, bro, I forgot he said that. This man just said, you're not going to lure me into a Jesuit joust. Come on, that's class. What? You're not going to lure me into a Jesuit joust? If they ever lay hands on me or call the cops, that's what I'm going to title the video. Vocab versus GOCC. The Jesuit joust.
Let's go.
All right, guys, we got to end the show there.